Good morning, and how is everyone doing? The purpose of this professional development is to train you on how to access and analyze Scantron data to inform your instruction. I would like for everyone to sit in your grade level teams with no more than 2 to 4 people. At each table you will find a laptop, data notebook, data analysis forms, Scantron login, information, and PowerPoint presentation. So, why are we here? The school-wide Scantron assessment data indicates that students are not reaching their targets. The data also indicates that students are continuing to struggle in the same content areas from previous testing cycles. Staff surveys also indicate that staff do not understand the assessment language and what to do once they have student data. We will begin with an activity called Go to Your Post. As you can see, I have 4 different chart papers posted around the room. Your job is to sit by the poster with vocabulary words you are unfamiliar with. You will discuss what you think these words mean as a group and report back in 2 minutes. Would anyone like to begin and share the different interpretations of your vocabulary words? Very nice. Table 1. What was some of the meanings your group came up with? Yes. Okay, this group. What did your group members say? Okay. Now let's look at the data report. You have a copy of it on your table as well as here on the PowerPoint. From the data report, what are your findings? Discuss in your groups. Okay, group 1, what does the data show or tell you? I like it. On the PowerPoint I have some questions. The first question is, why can't students interpret the vocabulary we use in the classrooms? Please turn to your partner and discuss. Okay, I would like for everyone to come back to me after hearing all of your great presentations and insightful feedback on why the data looks as it does in terms of students interpreting vocabulary. Let's all have a shared language as we dig into this data. Firstly, when we are comparing our students to the rest of the nation, we are assessing their national percentile ranking. So, if they scored a 72nd percentile, it means that they scored better than 72% of the students who took this exam. In terms of looking at any potential error in the actual test score that we receive, that is when we are assessing the standard error of measure. So, if we have a standard error measure of 50 points and we see that a student scored a 2000, that student could have scored anywhere from 1950 and 2050. Please, if you have any questions regarding these, don't hesitate to ask. I'll be more than happy to help you. Any questions? Okay, great. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse or go over things we may already know. This is really just a quick refresher. The next 2 concepts are simple. Expected gains are the number of points we anticipate a student will earn in a given period, and the gap is simply the number of points needed to reach the score goal for the student in question. And lastly, before we move on in the presentation, the last concept we should all have locked down is the idea of quartiles. Quartiles are just the percentiles we looked at before, broken down into 4 groups: the bottom 25%, the middle 50%, the upper 75%, and the remainder to 100%. So, this just means if a student scored in the 47th percentile, they would be a part of quartile number 2. Any questions before we move on? Excellent. Let's dive into this data. If you look at this next slide, here are the data reports. Using the vocabulary that we discussed, can I have someone from the audience take a shot at interpreting the data in each report? Why do you think students have difficulty interpreting the vocabulary we use in the classroom? Exactly, Lisa. The language we use is sometimes foreign to our students, so we must keep in mind their paradigm when setting our expectations. Based on the information you just received about quartiles, and looking at slide 4 of our presentation, I would like for you to discuss with you group what quartiles you believe your students fall in and why. Take about 7 minutes to have this discussion. You may begin now. Could I have a volunteer share what some of the reason or their group came up with? Thanks, Mike. That's a very good analysis of your data. Most of your students fall into quartile 2. And if we look closer, we can make the assumption that in reading, most of your students struggle. Now, if I can have you all take a look at slide 6 of the PowerPoint. What can you determine the gains need to be in order for your students to reach the goals? Great point, Thomas. The gains are different for every student. This tells us that we need to be very intentional when setting goals for our students. With the information we have discussed in the vocabulary you are familiar with now, do you think your students are capable of reaching their targets? I want to get your views on this question. We are going to use the format call on the next speaker. How this works is when someone responds to the question, they will then call on someone else to wishes to speak by raising their hand. Please keep your comments to 3 to 4 minutes and try to call on someone that has not already spoken. Could I have a volunteer to go first? Go ahead, Roper. Start us off. Very good. Thank you all for great discussion. I hope you found that to be very informative and valuable. Take the next few minutes to discuss any interesting points with your group members at your table. When you are finished, we will take a 10-minute break and return back here at 11 a.m. Okay, teachers, may I have everyone's attention on the board? At this point, we will be working on closing piece of this workshop. Displayed on the board is the Scranton Data Report. I have placed a hard copy on each table. You may also access this information on our district site. Now that you all know and understand the vocabulary, we are able to interpret the Scranton scores. Take 2 minutes to look over your class data. Now I would like for you all to break off into grade level teams. Yes, grade levels, move to a different table to get some movement. What are some of the trends? What are some assumptions you can make, and what type of action plan will you implement to address the areas of concerns? Try to force on the just one concern at this time. I will give you 10 minutes to look over the data and share with your team. Okay, did you all come up with an action plan? Great. I hope this workshop clarified and addressed many of your concerns regarding Scranton. I would hope that everyone will take back what was learned in this workshop by utilizing the data to address the needs of students. We have one final activity before I release everyone. This activity is called High Five. This is how it works. I need everyone to stand up in a straight line. Come on, stand up. I would like for everyone to come up one by one and give me high five. I will start with Star on the right. Ready? Okay. Great job, Star. Thank you for coming. Jim, way to go. Okay, that was hard, Jim. I appreciated your input. Next, Karen. Awesome teamwork. Okay, let's make it more challenging. Now come up with some creative movement. How about starting on a side? Hopping. James, very creative. Did I get a high five from everyone? I would like to thank everyone for coming. Again, teachers, thank you for coming. I hope you benefited and enjoyed my presentation.